Right. Good evening, everyone. We'll be getting started in just a moment. If you're here to make public comment in person, please fill out a public comment form. And if you are making public comment online, feel free to raise your hand as we'll do public comment in the room first, and then public comment for those on Zoom second. And so we're just gonna get those in and we'll get the meeting started here in just a moment or two.
Good evening, everyone. Let's go ahead, and I would like to call this meeting to order. It looks like we're still chit-chatting here for just a moment, so give us 1 second here. Who is that? Big monster. It's so hard to Okay, calling the meeting to order. And if we could do roll call, please.
All right, for our roll call, Frederick Bear.
Present. Your unit is on, ready.
Charlie Borchard, here. Gary Cecil. Bryce Chisholm.
Here.
Carol Crane.
Here.
George Foster. Absent at this time. Alex Goff. Absent at this time. Annika Khan. Absent at this time. Theodore Meek.
Here.
Matt Rossi.
Delighted to be here.
Great. We have a quorum, and the Tuesday, May 10th Neighborhood 5 Advisory Board meeting is called to order.
Yes. All right, we will move to item A2, which is public comment. And as stated earlier, we will take public comment in-house first. Do we have any public comment?
We do. My timer on, sorry. All right, so for public comment, we will start with Brian Colonna, followed by Alexandra Bacon. And if there's another public comment, you can give the form to me if you're going to be making a public comment. Oh, sorry. All right, so we'll start with 3 minutes on the clock for Brian Colonna. Yes.
Okay.
Let's see.
Is this on?
You're
Sounds like it
on.
is.
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right, good evening. My name is Brian Colonna. I live on Sunline Drive. I'm here to speak about the group home plan for Sandyston Drive. The issue is that the city of Reno has adopted a definition for group home that is not aligned with NRS nor NAC, nor does it indicate what types of facilities defined under NRS that would qualify as a group home. From what I've been able to tell, so long as a planned facility does not exceed 6 non-disabled or 10 disabled persons, and the operator claims it as a group home, the city will rubber stamp its approval. There isn't even a definition in the city code for what qualifies as a disabled person. Traditionally, group home is intended to blend into its surroundings with minimal traffic and impact. Casual observers should not be able to pick out a group home in any neighborhood, and that is not the case for what is planned on Sandyston. See, the facility planned for the site is classified by CMS as an adolescent psychiatric residential treatment facility. It's described as an inpatient facility intended to be a step down from a hospital setting, but a step up from a limited supervision facility such as a halfway house. The Medicaid Services Manual requires this type of facility to provide 24-hour access to a psychiatrist, 24-hour nursing care, and limited periods to leave the facility for other than medical needs. The MSM also requires that these types of facilities be accredited by either the Joint Commission, CARF, or another similar agency that usually accredit hospitals. Your own doctor's office or local urgent care do not require this level of accreditation to operate. The plans for Sandyston include an addition that adds 2,000 square feet to the existing 3,200 square foot home, a complete gutting and renovation of the interior, and the addition of a full parking lot and fire sprinklers. The renovations will render this home only suited to a similar purpose as this use for an alleged group home. There are also rumors that claim this facility will be locked with the ability to use chemical or physical restraints on the adolescents living there. This means that children can be locked in their rooms and either strapped to the bed or sedated to the point that they cannot physically resist those around them. My ask of the city of Reno, by extension through this committee, is to request a moratorium on new group home approvals, update the city's definition of group home to align with NRS and NAC definitions, which are far more descriptive, and to then review this planned use for zoning purposes. While these types of facilities are badly needed, especially with the recent closing of West Hills, they do not belong in residential neighborhoods far from emergency and other services that the residents might need. Thank you so much for your time.
Excuse me, would you
Yes, sir.
say where that is again, please?
It's 2840 Sandiston Drive,
Say what the street again?
2840 Sandiston Drive.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Our next public commenter is Alexandra Bacon, and that will be followed by David Gertz. David Gertz.
Good evening, Ward 5 members. Thankful to have the opportunity to speak here and have this forum in the city. Oh, okay, thank you. My name's Alexandra Bacon, and I live in Ward 5 in Northwest Reno. I'm a neighbor here in the neighborhood to speak, and I'm here to speak about the psychiatric residential treatment facility that was classified as a group home by the city of Reno. Group homes are allowed in all residential areas of the city. However, PRTFs, as they're called, are not. It's unclear if the permit was issued in error or if this is a zoning infraction or a violation. I submitted a service request to the city of Reno, and they responded that through review, it was determined by staff that the applicant met the minimum qualifications of group home. Briefly, the city of Reno and the municipal code defines a group home as a community-based dwelling providing food and shelter, personal guidance, care, rehabilitation services, or supervision with 2 staff residing in the house or with house parents or guardians. The state of Nevada characterizes a group home as providing a safe, healthful group living environment in a normalized, developmentally supportive setting where residents can interact fully with the community. Group homes are used for children who will benefit from supervised living with access to community resources in a semi-structured environment. Psychiatric residential facilities provide 24-hour, highly structured services for children and youth between the ages of 6 and 17 who need to move beyond an acute level of care or who cannot effectively respond to services from a less restrictive setting, like that of a group home. There are currently 3 licensed psychiatric residential treatment facilities in Washoe County. 2 are in the city of Sparks, and they are zoned in PF and MS zones, which if you go to Title 18 of the municipal code, it allows that use. The other one is in Sparks, also in a PF zone. Brian referred to West Hills, that was also in a PF zone. In closing, it seems that the definition of a group home is a minimal catch-all for the city of Reno. However, the municipal code does have zoning codes and land usage guidelines for assisted living facilities, health and medical care facilities. With this public comment, I ask that you look into this matter with the city of Reno and staff members regarding zoning code decisions for this business license and business permit. This decision impacts all Reno residents and sets a new zoning code precedent to convert homes to psychiatric residential treatment facilities. Thank you.
Next, we have David Gertz. That will be followed by anyone online. Please raise your hand at this time if you are waiting to make a public comment online.
This past winter, I went 3 weeks without my trash being picked up. I live a half a block away from where this facility is to be put. A young man named Tony with the city of Reno informed me when I called him about snow removal, if I couldn't handle it, to move back to California. I've lived here for 35 years. I'm from Kansas. We don't shut 20 miles of an interstate down. We shut 200 miles down. Whoever changed this zoning up there, without us being notified, leaves a lot to be desired. You can't get a fire truck up there in the wintertime. You can't get a two-wheel truck, cop car up there in the wintertime. My family deserves better than this facility up there. All neighborhoods deserve better than this. There's no hospital up there. What are you people thinking? I'm very disgusted with this city, the way this has been handled. The city commissioner for this area, I don't think anybody up there would vote for her again. From what I understand, the people I've talked to, she's turned her back on us. Yet she lives in Somerset. Well, here I am to tell you this. Somerset doesn't have one school in it. Those kids in my neighborhood go 3 miles to a school where there's a school just down the street from them. Somerset's a disgrace. So if you have money in this town, you get your way and the rest of us are just shoved off to the side. And that's that city commissioner of ours who lives in Somerset. She doesn't want this stuff in her neighborhood, but she'll put it in my neighborhood. I'm done.
At this time, I don't see any further public comment online. Again, if you would like to make a comment and you're watching on Zoom, please raise your hand at this time. Seeing no hands, we are finished with public comment.
Mac Rossi for the record. You got two highly difficult situations here. And I'd like to ask Amy, we have an opportunity to possibly ask somebody from the city to come to our next meeting to address this. If you are willing to come to the next meeting, we'll see if Amy can get somebody over here. I'm not exactly sure what department that would fall under, but I'd like to address that. And also your situation with you folks over there on the nursing care, or whatever you want to call it. We're having a meeting within a month, our next meeting coming up, and the county has come up with a new way of working with this kind of zoning situation. And we're having him come here to present it to our people of a better way to do it, such as neighborhood groups that have to be agreeable to what's going on before it even goes to planning commission. So I would suggest that for sure, that one's going to be here a month from now. And if maybe Amy can get there, if you can check with her, I'd appreciate it. And we'll see if we can address it. You've got a valid point. And I don't want to take up your time, but thank you, Chairman. Mac Rossi for the record.
Just to piggyback on that, Amy, has this already gone? Has it already been approved? Can you give us any insight since we're kind of being thrown into this? Is this going before the council? Has it already gone to council?
It is my understanding that this will not go to council. It is not, permits on group homes are done by the state.
Gotcha.
So the I can't speak to this. I'm not a city planner or an attorney, so I'm not going to comment further on it.
No, that's fine.
And I don't know if someone will be at the next meeting to discuss it, but I can ask.
Okay, that was kind of where I was going, is just kind of what direction these folks can go. If we can
Yes,
just call
there's
the
been,
city.
the city staff has been working on this issue for about a month now. So.
Gotcha.
Mac Rossi for the record. This agenda comes out the Friday before, last Friday for this meeting. So you would be able to check this to see if it's on it before you take your time to come on down. But we'll see what we can do for you, okay? Thank you.
Okay, so moving on to the next agenda item, which is A3, which is the approval of the agenda. Do I have any discussion, comments, concerns? Motion? Motion?
Mac Rossi for the record. I make a motion that we approve the agenda for the May 10th today. period.
Can I get a second?
Bryce Chisholm, I'll second.
Thank you very much. For all those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Aye. Didn't hear any opposition. Motion passes. A4 is the approval of the minutes. I'm hoping everybody was able to review those for April 12th last month. Any discussion, concerns? I'll just put in my 2 cents. It's done very well. Once again, we really appreciate the time and effort done by the minute taker. Can I get a motion?
Bryce Chisholm, move to approve the minutes.
Gary says I'll second.
Great. Thank you guys very much. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, item A6, staff liaison report. Item for general announcements and informational items only. No action may be taken.
Liaison.
The liaison would be Amy.
Oh.
No?
Vice Mayor Jordan?
Oh, I skipped
A5.
right over council. Sorry, my apologies. And I even saw you there.
No, no worries at all. Thank you all very much. So great to see everybody at this NAB meeting. And I appreciate all the public comments. I have been very much involved in the process. Staff has been in communication with thorough, extensive communication back and forth. And for the board's information in the future, I do recommend, Amy, if someone comes forward from staff to just give a little bit of a history and an update on the issues that the public commenters expressed. I also saw, Carly, and we can do it before I finish my comments or after, there did seem to be someone in the chat that had a question, public comment. So
Lisa Hill,
yes, I just saw that pop in. So anyway, the updates from the City Council and from the Ward 5 representative is that we're very proud to be in the midst of Older Americans Month. There's lots of activities going on for Older Americans Month, and it's pretty exciting. Lots of activities going on with RTC and the expansion of the Flex Ride system and a rollout of community meetings and involvement from every stakeholder you can imagine to gather its transit plan. It does a study every 5 years to look at the zones for fixed routes, for Flex Ride, for paratransit, and all the modal opportunities that RTC offers. And it looks at where things are expanding, where they're not, and ways that we can better serve the riding community more individually. So the Flex Ride has been quite successful, and there is some 40+% increase in the Flex Ride zones and opportunities, which I'm pretty excited about that, because as you all know, is a door to point-to-point drop-off. It's not a fixed route where you got to get to the bus stop. So that's pretty exciting. That'll be rolling out in the future. And just lots of good things happening at the RTC. And we have started the process with the downtown plans with regards to closing off the northbound lanes for the pilot program to increase multimodal transportation through that corridor, where you can bike or scooter or walk, with some activities to drive up a number of things we want to see in the downtown core, more activities for people to come and see and enjoy. And that will be starting, Amy, if you'll correct me when you, I'm not sure of the exact date when that pilot program begins, but we're pretty excited to see what comes out of that. The feedback on that and the future of that pilot program and the future of downtown and lane closures or not will be purely driven off of community and business feedback on what occurs there. So we're excited about that. The Bird scooters have launched. As you all are, I'm sure, aware, I was not a big proponent of the scooters, given our history with Lime Bike and Lime scooters. That didn't go so well. And I was the sole no vote when it came to the Bird scooters, but it wasn't for not believing that there was good opportunity with the scooters. It was more, I didn't have before me a confirmation from two major districts in the ward, the University District and the Downtown Reno Partnership, as to their official position on the scooters. Since that vote, we have received a letter from the university saying they are going to, on a pilot basis, allow scooters on their campus, and they too are, hoping that they will be successful in that area as well. And we also received a letter from the Downtown Reno Partnership endorsing the scooters and their use. So we just had a report earlier today. Mac can attest to this, and Carol as well, that the scooters, with rare exceptions, we've really had very few complaints. I think the city has received one through Reno Direct, but Bird is collecting the points of concern through their app and through a phone number and email that they have. And they reported back that there really has been minor reports and concerns. And they're still working out some of the initial launch kinks. I know sidewalk riding is something we don't want to see, and they're working on some of their expanded geofencing to keep that from occurring. But I will say I've been pleasantly surprised so far, keeping my fingers crossed that things continue on a good path and the scooters are successful in our community. Other than that, I'm trying to think of any other items. I'm certainly open to questions from any of the board members.
Mac Rossi for the record. Council member Jordan and Amy, if you heard two situations come up here that we might be able to address by the next meeting with the powers that be between Council member Jordan and Amy, whatever you can do to help us out, we'd sure appreciate it.
You bet. On which item? I'm sorry.
I think it's all one item, right? All the speakers were
Yeah.
referring to the same.
Okay,
Okay.
I thought that's what you were referring to, but I didn't want to assume. Okay, no, absolutely. We will, and have been in communications to kind of give what the process and the
Yeah.
approvals and the city reviews, and we'll stay on that and bring any resolution that we can afford, and we'll bring the information back to the board as well.
Great, okay. My concern was that you have one where they're putting some situations in a zoning area that might be questionable, and the other gentleman was of service that he was trying to obtain from the city. So whatever we can do, I'd appreciate. I'm sure they would too. Thank you.
Just have a funny little comment, if I may. Carly Borchard for the record. One of the Bird scooters was found in Bird Eye. So they're making a track somehow. I think it's comical. Anyhow,
I think they reported that they had one rider that did 30 miles on a
that's
scooter,
impressive.
which is commitment. That's commitment.
At least it wasn't on top of the Virginia Bridge. So that's,
Well,
we're
I
getting
know,
an improvement.
knock on wood, Mac, knock on wood.
Yeah.
Did we have any other questions, comments? Gary?
Good evening, Vice Mayor. We're having just some anecdotal reports of some traffic, pedestrians downtown being passed by, not very slow, but very fast, some of the e-scooters. I think there is still, honestly, in talking to folks around, that there's still not a clear understanding of the program and what they would need to do if they have a problem. There was one in which somebody wanted to call the police and then hesitated because they weren't sure if it was an emergency situation. But of course, by the time that they decide to file something with Reno Direct, the scooter's gone, and one wonders what the ramifications can be when you can't track somebody down. So I think there are still some open questions about enforcement, and also just about that and how this plan for the e-scooters fits in with the micromobility study that just started with all the plastic cones that have appeared on, I think, 5th Street and on South Virginia or North Virginia, and also the placemaking study. I know there's been publicity for it, so I apologize if not everybody's watching as closely as they should. But is there a chance that the NAB or we could have some other sessions so that people have a chance to ask their questions and to be informed again? I think there's a number of people that would appreciate that.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great idea to do a kind of a check-in point with Bird as to all the questions that you've asked and kind of give an update on how things are going. I do know with regards to, and you're correct, I think not everybody's fully aware as if they witness an issue with regards to people riding where they're not supposed to or parking them where they're not supposed to, where does that get reported and how does that information kind of get looped back to the city? They are, as I understand, and Amy, correct me if I'm wrong, they're going to be putting, I believe they said, an informational tag on each of the scooters about where to report things, which will include a phone number, an email, and an app where you can report all of these things. The representation earlier today was that with regards to the speed, there was a comment made that they believed the scooter was going maybe 25 miles an hour. And the representative from Bird said the scooters mechanically can't go above 18. And in our region, they're set for 15. And was it possible that maybe it was a personal scooter that someone witnessed going a higher speed? And the individual didn't believe it was. They believed it was a scooter, a Bird scooter. So it doesn't mean that it isn't fast. 15 can certainly, when you're standing on a sidewalk and there's one zipping by you, can certainly seem very fast. So reporting those, they can, if you're able to report it and the location and the time, they are able to kind of reverse investigate that and find out who had the scooter at that time. And they can, they have all sorts of mechanisms to sort of address those behaviors to help to reduce them. So I think it's a good idea to have Bird come back to the NABs, all the NABs in, a short amount of time and just give some information and to let everybody know how things are going, including how to report concerns, questions, issues.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Again, I just don't want it. I'm not sure the data is reliable right now for that reason. So it's not that I don't want to be optimistic too, but I think that people need to know better how to report. So education
Agreed.
in that, just reminders of that would be very helpful. Then I think the data will be reliable.
Absolutely. Great idea.
Yeah.
Questions by the board?
Yes, just to on that Bluebird or the Bird scooters, we just came from a meeting where they are working with trying to keep them off the sidewalk, trying to keep them off the middle of the street. And as Councilperson Jordan said, they're going to be tagging them and giving some information on where to drive them, what's going on. So it was kind of preliminary. They really hadn't come down definite on anything, but it's coming. So I'll let you know on that.
Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you.
Could you hold on just one moment, if you don't mind,
Sure.
Neoma? We do
Sure.
have one more question, and I know that we don't want to occupy your entire evening. So if Lisa
No
Hill
worries.
could just ask her question real quick.
Oh,
that would be-
absolutely. Yes.
That'd be great. Thank you.
I'm so sorry if this is a redundant question because for some reason I stopped getting the agendas. But here's my question, Neoma. Is there any effort at council level on capping the rent increases in the city for existing leaseholders? I've been hearing about rent increases of 30, 40%. And people's salaries, this is from personal, friends, family, et cetera. And people's income is not going up at that rate. I realize the housing market is going up, but is there any effort at council level to address this? Thank you.
We've had a number of affordable housing and housing discussions at the council and have really begun an entire series of forums on that discussion. I know there's been things tossed about some rent gouging and what opportunities there may be there. So these are all ongoing discussions. No official designation or decision has been made on that, but I know everything from inclusionary zoning to rent gouging opportunities to other things to help maybe mitigate some of the problems that we know many are experiencing are certainly front of mind. And I know the mayor has called a number of special meetings for everybody to have to discuss these issues. And my understanding is those meetings are going to be ongoing. So I would just say, stay tuned and we'll share information here as it comes out of those meetings as well.
Carol Crane, I have a question again about the tenants advisory board that had been posted as available for people to be on. Is there anything happening to this? Because that definitely would help address housing and rental issues in the city. And it was about 2 years ago that I saw it listed on the city website, and
yes.
I've never heard anything more about it.
Yeah, I know that was formed, and I believe Councilwoman Breckus was the chair, and I don't know what officially occurred with that. Amy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the pandemic hit, and I think maybe only a meeting was held, and I think maybe the period of time for when that board was to meet expired. But if we could come back and maybe have staff give a report on that, I'm not 100% sure what the status of that is.
Happy to look into that. Sorry, what was the name of the board?
The
Tenants
Tenant
and-
Advisory Board.
Yes, and concerns, issues and concerns.
Would be in a necessary board right now.
Yeah. it's
Great.
okay.
Yeah, I'm not currently familiar with it, but I will look into it.
nobody-
Hey, are there any other questions for Neoma? We do have one more.
Just one question. I think, Vice Mayor, I heard your colleague, Councilman Reese, say one time that Nevada statutes don't permit a rent cap. I know you're talking about rent gouging. That may be different and hard to judge, but I think to Lisa's question, that I think that's a constraint upon the council right now.
Yes, and you are correct. And we got confirmation from our city attorney's office in a public meeting. That question was asked. They confirmed that the authority for that sort of implementation would have to be granted to us by the legislature. And to this point, that right to do that had not been granted to us. So that wasn't within our authority to put rent caps on.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you very much, Councilwoman.
Thank you.
Moving on, I guess we can jump to A6, which is the staff liaison report.
Hello, I'm Amy Pennington, the staff liaison. I just have one thing I wanted to add about the micromobility pilot project. We are having a little bit of a delay with some of our implementation of it just due to the cold weather. We were hoping to be doing a lot of that work this week of getting some of the initial items out on the street on Virginia Street and 5th Street. So if people aren't familiar, the micromobility pilot project is a project where we are creating some micromobility lanes. Micromobility is like bikes, scooters, things that are human powered or electric powered that are smaller vehicles than a car or a motorcycle. And basically trying to create some opportunities for some dedicated lanes or protected lanes so that people can travel more safely by that method. And the pilot project is one of the things that we're trying to do is trying out different elements that can help assist us as a city figure out what works best here and what the public likes. And so there's going to be different types of intersections, different types of medians throughout the different areas of the pilot project. And so we will be having surveys that are out and they'll be publicized pretty extensively once everything is put out. There'll be, whether it's QR codes that people can scan on their phone when they're out on the sidewalk, or links. We'll have emails being sent out by the city. We're gonna really try to get the word out in the news any way we can to get as much feedback about how people are interacting with the pilot project, how they like it, what features they like, what features they don't like. And then also from businesses, anyone who's impacted by it, and any resident in the city, we really encourage them to respond to the survey when it's out. The information we gather will help determine what sorts of things we continue to invest in and develop, and maybe what things we decide are not good fits. So people's feedback is going to be really paramount during this time. We're hoping to launch this the last week of May, but obviously with the cold weather that's just come in, it could impact our ability to restripe some roads and stuff like that. So stay tuned for the exact launch date, but we were hoping that it would be around, didn't have it, my hoping it might be, well, I don't know. like May 25th, I think was the launch date that we were hoping for and may still be hoping for, but at this point, it's a bit weather dependent. So we will try and publicize when it is. And then placemaking study, there was a question about that. We are now in conversations and working with the consultant that council had approved to be spearheading that. And there will be lots of different public meetings that come out of that, but those will probably be more like June or July when we start having public meetings about that. But it will be publicized. And I do expect that maybe in July or August, it would probably make sense as far as like micromobility or placemaking to bring something to the NAB for an update or discussion about that. Any other questions for me? Yes.
Gary Cecil for the record. Amy, is there a listing going out as to like any road closures related to to the micromobility project, or lanes closing or things like that? We're coming into festival season, and you wonder what's going to happen when everything comes together at one time. So any prior information would be very helpful.
Yes, so I believe that any road closures that are happening, our communications team sends out press releases. So I would encourage you to sign up for their press release list if you are looking for updates on road closures that are related to the micromobility construction. I don't think that they always do all road closures for every festival or special event, but they might. I'm not 100% sure who puts that information out. Yeah, but I know for the micromobility project, we are trying, as it is our project, we are trying to be very communicative about road closures that will be happening.
I'm sorry, who was that again I would contact?
So if you go to our newsletter page, which I think if you just
We can do it offline. That's
yeah,
okay. No problem.
there is a newsletter that is like communications updates. So I'll find the link for it and get it. I'll put it in the chat and get it out to the board.
Moving right along to B, business items. B1 is the, excuse me, the election of the chair for, that would be the June meeting, right? It says May 10th, but it would be for next month. Oh, wait. Okay, I'm on it. So can I get everybody to elect me as the chair tonight, please? All those in favor say. Can I get a motion in a second to have me as the chair tonight?
I'll make a motion to Carly Bosch should be the chair tonight.
Back Rossi for a second.
Thank you, guys. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any of those opposed? Oh, good. Okay, but we can now elect a chair for next, or should that be in our discussion items? Okay, great. Okay, so next item is B2, traffic engineering, spot 10, South Project, 4th at Woodland Roundabout. Informational item only, presentation by RTC.
Might be online. If you are here for RTC online, can you please raise your hand? Ah, there we are. Okay. Great. Not sure. Right, Blaine, the floor is yours. You're muted, by the way.
There we go. Sorry about that. For the record, Blaine Peterson, RTC Project Manager. Let me know if you can't see my screen. Okay, so this project was TE Spot 10, and it's mainly the 4th and Woodland Roundabout. Project purpose, to improve safety and operations at the intersection of West 4th Street and Woodland Avenue and West 4th Street and Mesa Park. Presentation explains project development process, project features, and supporting information. Additional information is on the dedicated project website at www.tspot10.com. www.fourth-woodland-roundabout.com. The website includes virtual representations of various movements of the intersection and links to educational material regarding modern roundabouts. So the project need, as a lot of you are probably familiar with, there are a lot of conflicts at these two intersections. They're offset, so that causes issues. There are high speeds on West 4th Street. The speed limit is 50 miles an hour. And access management. There are wide driveways there, so that is too many areas where vehicles can enter the roadway. Mesa Park configuration, the acute angle of intersecting roads makes it difficult to turn on to 4th Street, especially during peak traffic periods. Overall operational and safety improvements and required coordination between NDOT, City of Reno, Washoe County, who all own portions of the roadways surrounding this project. Several other options were studied, including 2 roundabouts, which was cost prohibitive due to the steep slopes, 2 traffic signals, which is very complicated to time with offset intersections. The intersection improvement study conducted in 2019 recommended the following: that limit access on the 4th Street to reduce conflict points for entering vehicles, provide bicycle and pedestrian facilities within the project limits, and the roundabout will provide traffic calming geometry to reduce speeds on 4th Street for entering vehicles. The roundabout provides design that accommodates truck traffic as well as emergency response vehicles. Movements were modeled via computer simulation, and they can be viewed on the project website. Project also includes lighting, specifically conflict areas, including pedestrian and bicycle areas. Minimal landscaping recommended for any landscaping areas to avoid long-term maintenance costs. Right-of-way was required for this and is in place for the project. This is the preferred design concept that came out of this study. As you can see, it'll be asphalt pavement on the roadway. There's a 8-foot multi-use path to allow for pedestrians and bicycles if the bicyclist isn't comfortable riding through the roundabout. The red area is a mountable truck apron for those larger trucks, concrete median islands, and the green areas are potential low maintenance landscape areas. The Mesa Park intersection design vehicle was the Reno Fire mid-aerial fire engine, and the roundabout design itself was a WB67, which is essentially an interstate truck that you see on the freeways all the time. The existing drainage patterns are to remain the same. We're not disturbing what's out there. And we're also installing guardrail above. There's a retaining wall here for that slope. So we're installing guardrail above that. And since West 4th Street is a NDOT maintained facility, we use the 2020 NDOT standards for our design. This is one of the virtual representations that you can view on the website. The movement from Mesa Park, if you wanted to head east into Reno, you would now have to turn right, go through the roundabout, and then you could head back east into Reno. Some of the benefits of roundabouts: they reduced crashes by up to 30% because they reduce the typical number of conflict points versus a standard intersection. Reduces the crash severity by reducing the head-on and T-bone crashes. And it reduces vehicle speeds as vehicle approaches the intersection. Roundabouts also reduce delay, they improve traffic flow and decrease time spent at the intersection, and reduces the number of vehicles queuing at the intersection. Roundabouts reduce greenhouse gas emissions. It reduces the time spent idling at an intersection versus traditional controls such as stop sign or traffic signals. Also reduces operation and maintenance costs, and eliminates costs associated with traffic signals, power, even though we will have street lighting, they will be LED lights, which uses less power. With traffic signals, there are also costs to retime the traffic signals and operation costs itself. And also equipment replacement costs with a traffic signal. Roundabouts also increase pedestrian safety. It reduces the time at risk for pedestrians by having 2-stage crosswalks on each leg by using pedestrian refuge islands. Pedestrians only have to look one direction for each crossing, and it reduces vehicle speeds at the crosswalks. Enhances aesthetics, and provides opportunities for community and corridor placemaking, softening of edges and visual appeal by using the central islands for landscape features and decreasing the amount of pavement. The project is currently being advertised for construction bids. The bid opening is this Thursday, May 12th. I anticipate the start date as June 6th, and it is an 85 working day contract. So we should be completed sometime in October of this year. And that's it. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Mac Rossi for the record. I'm kind of familiar with that area there. What? And this is the old highway, if I'm not correct.
You are correct.
Okay, speed limit is 50 miles an hour. Am I correct on that? Or I may be wrong, but I think it's 50 miles an hour. Is something going to be posted in advance on both sides to alert people that they got to go in a circle?
Absolutely.
What is that going to be?
As any other roundabout intersection, there are warning signs prior to the intersection that there's a roundabout ahead with diagram of a circular roadway, as well as street name signs directing traffic to the various roads.
So what do you anticipate as a speed limit as you approach the circle or go around in that roundabout?
The advisory speed limit will be 25 miles an hour.
And that'll be posted in enough suitable time for people to not get dizzy, I guess, huh?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Shirley Borchard for the record. My only concern here, I do travel this street every day, morning and night, so I get to see the impacts, full impacts of this area during kind of rush hours, if you will. My big concern would be specific to the evening, afternoon, and it's been a concern of mine for several years for Mayberry Park, Mayberry Drive, which is just another, maybe half mile up the road here. My concern is now that there's just going to be kind of a straight influx. This will definitely help, obviously, keep traffic moving. But my concern would be for that Mayberry intersection. Right now, I mean, I can see people from as far down on 4th Street as I can, and they will be sitting there until I'm far past them. You know, they sit there for a good, I refuse to take that road just because you end up sitting, waiting for 4th Street traffic to go. It's really a hindrance. So I guess my question would be, I assume that you guys have done some traffic studies in this area, know the type of traffic that you're dealing with, and I'm sure that you guys have probably been made aware of that Mayberry Drive issue. I'm wondering if any analysis or consideration has been done for that.
That was not a part of this study. I do know that NDOT has a corridor study for West 4th Street, but I have not been involved in that, so I can't really answer anything.
Okay, well, just as a neighbor that, like I said, I drive this multiple times a day, that would be my big concern, is if you don't have people stopped waiting for other traffic to go, that's kind of the only opportunity for that Mayberry Drive traffic to get onto 4th Street. So if you've got a roundabout now that's going to keep traffic moving and flowing very consistently, which is obviously the goal and intent here, I don't see how those people are going to get onto 4th Street unless they just take a right and give up hope on taking a left to go west.
I would anticipate speeds being slower at the roundabout, which might give Mayberry Park opportunities to make those left and right turn moves.
Do we have any other questions, comments? Do we have anybody in the audience that would like to ask a question?
Carol Crane, what prompted this change? What did the change to this traffic flow to put in a roundabout? Were there complaints?
Yes, we, working with City of Reno and NDOT, we did a study in 2019, an intersection control evaluation to see what would be best suited for this area. As I said, the offset intersection makes it difficult for, a lot of movements. So that was what prompted the study, and this was presented as the preferred concept.
Thank you.
Going down the line?
I believe a lot of that is the Somerset people coming down Mesa Parkway and then getting onto 4th Street is creating a huge backlog of traffic there. And so they're trying to keep that moving. And then crossing left to go east on 4th Street is kind of a disaster. But I see what you're saying about creating another disaster at Mayberry by fixing this issue. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Gary Cecil for the record. I noticed this is, again, there's 3 jurisdiction over this, including the city of Reno. Has anybody checked to see if there's any more industrial growth likely to be happening in that area? I'm not trucks, semis, they really need a lot of space to turn. And that's the only thing. It looks like it's light industrial there. Maybe I'm not quite sure what it's zoned, but is there any danger that there could be a lot more trucks at some time that could make this more difficult for them?
It's my understanding that that area is built out and the roundabout was designed for those larger trucks. As part of the design, we use computer software to determine how large of a radius is needed so that those trucks can make those turns. It's similar to the roundabout farther west on 4th Street, which has a trucking company directly adjacent to it.
Mac Rossi for the record. Are you working with NDOT on this project?
Yes, of course. NDOT has been involved from the very beginning of the project.
And how long ago was that?
2019.
What was it? 2014, did you say? 19? Then I just got one question and I don't want to get diverted off of this if there's any other questions from the audience, but I've been working on a project for almost 10 years. And it's on McCarran and Leadership over there, almost parallel across from Rancho San Rafael Park, where they're putting in they are putting in 800 apartments that come off of that and can only make a right-hand turn. They what?
I'm going to interrupt real quick if
Okay.
I may. So that's actually a question within the chat, as I saw as well. And unfortunately, that item is not on the agenda, so it's
Okay.
off topic.
All right, I'll
We
bring
have
it up
to
under
be
new
specific to
business.
this specific project.
Okay.
But I would, since it has come up, Blaine, if you wouldn't mind maybe reaching out to these folks, maybe on a separate note or email. We've got, like I said, in chat, we have Lisa Hill that is curious about the same thing. So we'll try to get that maybe on another agenda item.
I'll pass it along to NDOT.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure.
Any more questions in regards to this particular project? Okay. I know I apologize. I'm curious too. But I think that's all the questions that we have for you, Blaine. Thank you very much for attending tonight and for presenting to us. It's good
Thank you.
information. Okay, moving on to development projects, which are presentations by the project developer representative. NAB members and the public will have the opportunity to ask questions about the project and provide feedback. NAB will not take action on any development projects. NAB members and the public are encouraged to complete the development project review forms with their input. All development project review forms submitted to the community liaison at the NAB meeting or via the online form will be submitted to the Planning Commission for consideration in the review process. Planning staff will be available for any questions, but will not provide project presentations. That's new. And we only have one, which is the Allen Glen Drive zoning map amendment. And it's a request that has been made for a zoning map amendment from large lot residential to multifamily residential on a 2-acre project site consisting of 2 parcels located northeast of the terminus of Allen Glen Drive.
Good evening. For
Hello.
the record, John Munson with Venture Engineering. I'm here representing the applicant who are also the property owners. And I think this is my, yes, okay. I'm sure that works. Well, the site is located, it is a request for zoning map amendment on 2 1-acre parcels to MF 14, currently zoned LLR1, but very out of place, not in conformance with the master plan. The master plan is actually, there's only 2 zonings that are compatible: small lot residential SF 11 and multifamily 14. So it's mixed neighborhood master plan, which is transition master plan from residential to multifamily. So they put this, you know, it's sort of a medium density master plan, as is the zoning of MF 14. So the site is located at the end of Allen Glen Drive, which is located off of Conway Drive, which is located off of West 7th Street. And the site is illustrated there, the 2 parcels next to each other. That's the master plan, which is MX. Current zoning LLR1. And then how the zoning would be after the amendment, if approved, to MF 14. The site right now, those 2 parcels are not highlighted, they're highlighted in red there. The site, 1 parcel is completely vacant. The one on the left does have a small house. It's currently occupied. It's a rental for the owners. The owners are actually the developers of the 12 lots to the south, 12 small homes. And if they would be the ones developing this, it would probably be a similar development with a street going down the middle, lots on each side. And they built the homes. They currently own and rent several of the homes. So if they was to proceed with the development, it would be a similar product. But in the MF 14, it can be apartments, it can be townhomes. It just depends on what happens in the future and what's the best use of the property. That's all I have for slides. In terms of support for the project, because of where it's located, it has access to existing streets, existing water, sewer, gas and electric, and obviously proximity to shopping, everything that it's somewhat of an infill. I'd say it's infill because there's development all the way around it. But, you know, technically it is a vacant piece of land, but we can say it's also infill in that it has access to all these utilities. It's not a burden on the city infrastructure to develop it. It's really just an enhancement of the infrastructure that exists, bringing it up to a standard to serve additional units if required. But there would be no road improvements other than on-site to improve the on-site road would be about the only roadway improvements necessary. RTC has a bus stop close by, so in terms of support for higher density, which is in conformance with the master plan. The previous master plan was also similar to MX. It's always been planned to have somewhat medium density on this property. As you can see, we've got apartments to the left, apartments to the north. There's some townhomes across the drainage way, single family, small lot to the south, and SF6, or the SF3, but the old 6,000 square foot lots to the east. Peavine Drainage Way does run through it. It takes up about 20% of the site. So guaranteed 20% of the site of a development is going to be open space, which is going to be the drainage way. And you can see the willows right there. It's actually up above to the north. It's pretty disturbed and barren. Through the site, it's got some nice stand of willows. Those will be preserved. So that will never change. That's all I have. Any questions? I'm here to answer questions.
Billy Borchard for the record. My first comment is always, have you had communications with the residents that surround the property currently?
We have not, other
Okay.
than the people to the south are the renters of the owners. So they live there, but if everyone was notified, we were hoping that, if the residents had issues, they would certainly, or questions, they would certainly bring those forward tonight. There's certainly the opportunity of the planning commission. If they didn't have opportunity tonight, they can write letters, emails, but we have not spoken to any of them.
And I
First-
apologize. I guess I didn't realize residents are not notified of the NAB meeting, correct?
They are, properties that are within 750 feet are not emailed, they're mailed a postcard that says when the meetings are, like, it would have this NAB meeting on it, and then the planning commission meeting on it. So if they're outside of that 750 feet radius, then they wouldn't automatically be notified.
Right. No, I understand that. I personally get them all.
Oh,
I signed up for all of them. So I get them all around town and I've never actually seen one for a NAB meeting. Am I incorrect? Okay. Or I guess I am false.
Wait,
I've
Mac-
seen
Mac, can you
planning
verify that
commission.
They have,
I've seen planning commission, I've seen city council, but I do not recall seeing a NAB, but I could be wrong. Okay.
I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure they're on the same, like list of meetings, basically.
Okay, kind of a
Yeah.
timeline of.
Yeah,
the event.
and they are proposed because those notifications are sent out a bit prior in the process. So sometimes things get delayed and it may
Sure.
come on a later meeting. So it does say, I believe it says tentative date.
Okay,
So people can verify the agenda and see that it truly is on that agenda.
perfect. Thank you. That's just my main concern is that, the neighbors are aware of what's going to happen.
Actually, I see that Nathan Gilbert, our city planner online,
Is
has asked to
raising his
speak.
hand?
So
Yes.
I'm sure he can
Wants to chime
verify
in?
all of this. Nate, why don't you chime in?
Hey, Nathan Gilbert, Senior Planner. I just wanted to add, probably a little over a year ago, we started adding courtesy notices. When we receive applications, before we've even reviewed them, we send out a courtesy notice with the project description, and it has the tentative neighborhood advisory board date as well as the planning commission tentative date. My understanding from the planners, we've received several inquiries from the community on this already. But again, that's just an initial courtesy notice to let residents know that a project has been applied for and advises them of future hearings and the neighborhood advisory board.
Great. Thank you very much for that clarification, Nathan. I appreciate it. What I was saying is that it just looks well trafficked. So it appears to me, and I could be completely incorrect because I am not familiar with the site, but I'm wondering if the people that are over, I apologize, is that the east or the west, are trying to get over to the apartments, vice versa? I mean, are people trying to traffic this property right now that?
No,
maybe
it's a closed off dead end. There's a fence in the back.
Okay,
Yeah, there was construction of during the development of the subdivision to the south there. There's dirt placed, so stockpiles were placed on there.
gotcha.
And since then, there's been work. There's still 2 lots to be constructed. 2 lots were built, I believe like 18 months ago, and there's still 2 lots left to build homes on. So there's still active construction activity back and forth between the 2. But it is fenced off at the back, so there's
Okay.
no exit.
The only reason I was mentioning it is, we just had a similar project a couple months ago come up with, large warehouses actually. And one of the workarounds for the residents around there was to do a little path around the back side of it so that they could still get by without getting on a major road. So just maybe something to think about. That's all I have.
Yeah, Bryce Chisholm. You say 14 units per acre, so I'm guessing it's 28 units. Is that what you are thinking about building?
The maximum, it would be limited, the drainage way actually subtracts some density. I estimated about 1.6, maybe 1.7 acres of density. So you're looking at, I think it was 22, like 22 to 24 units. If it was multifamily, if it was townhomes, it would probably be a little less just to fit them on there. If it was a similar product to the subdivision that's there, it would probably be more like 14. So it's just the size of the, of the dwelling and whether it's detached, attached, or in a two-story building. And that's another important factor. MO14 only allows two-story. So it can only be two-story if it were to be apartments.
And I was like looking on Google Maps here. It doesn't have the construction of those. Is there any way you can go down and like show what you've built previously?
There's 3 there now. There's a total of 12, and I apologize. No, it's not on this.
I was just wondering what kind of housing.
I do
it
have
was. And while you're looking for the, okay.
Do you have something to put on there? A
little bit of technical abilities to convert back and forth. Actually with Zoom too, huh?
While you're figuring that out, my other question is, it looks like that street has like an emergency access fence blocking it off. Will that open up so you can exit out next to those apartments?
No, that's a private street, and they did negotiate with the owners of the apartments to allow that to be a fire access, but they don't want that to be a public access. This is private, they have liability for that, and so, but it is there for fire access.
So all that traffic will be coming out on Conway.
It's about
The
12
7th,
trips, honestly, 12 peak hour trips, so. And the proximity to the bus stop and pedestrian ways, somewhat limits trips during the, good weather. There we go.
Yeah, all right.
So right there, it's a little smaller view, but just a hammerhead. Got 8 lots and then 4 on the back of the hammerhead. And those have guest parking here and there throughout. So that's probably the most dense you could get with an attached product. And it's very functional and they're very nice homes. So in fact, I think the current owners would like probably to build 2-car garages. So it would probably be a little bit bigger product if he was to go forward with it, just because to have a 2-car garage seemed more reasonable for the tenants. Those are all 1-car garages right now.
Thank you.
John, I just want to thank you for the detail on your description of the whole project. It was a good learning experience for me too, talking about all of the gravel to be moved around and things like that. The only question, I had a question for Nathan afterwards, but my only question for you is, in terms of the traffic, you make a statement in there that from your analysis, that there would not be any need at the point at which there would be building permits pulled or things like that to do a more detailed traffic analysis. What is that based on? Again, I understand you're saying it's certain traffic flow, but I really don't know much about that. Could you just explain how you calculate that and why you don't think there needs to be a traffic study?
Yes, it's in the Public Works Design Manual, so it thresholds, and I thought it was 100 peak hour trips, honestly. So it's way up there in excess of what we would have. And that would entail a traffic analysis. But there's also an access study. So if there's special considerations that the point of access has issues already, the city engineer's department can require an access study, just specific to how you're getting in and out. So that's more of a minor study that's driven solely by existing conditions. And so this project doesn't We have the engineering report from the city engineer who reviewed the project. It doesn't meet the threshold for trips, and there's no known access issues.
Okay. Okay. On the emergency access there, you mentioned is that there's an existing emergency access gate at the connection point. And that was on the picture you just showed, right? So how does that gate kind of work? Is it?
It's a swinging gate.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just locked with the chain and swings. The fire department, they'll just cut that chain and open that if they
Okay.
need to. More than likely, they could park right there and, fight a fire without even coming in, to be honest with you. But you never know what's going to happen if the main road is impassable. People can also cut the chain and get out of there through that. It's available for the rest of the residents also. So.
Just take it that for whatever you develop eventually, there'll be plenty of setback room because it changes from the designation of the larger lot down to the more resident MF14, right? That there should be, you don't foresee any issues there.
I don't. You'll have the rear yard setbacks would apply to the end house there. So those would have the minimum, I think it's 10 feet minimum setback from any structure. So.
And Nathan, may I ask you a question, please?
Certainly.
You there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay, I'm sorry, you're kind of muffled right now, but my only question was, this appears to be a conforming zone to the master plan. I can see that totally. And we're not, nobody's asking for anything to do with what is actually going to be built. It's just to change that, right?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. And as John mentioned, even prior to Reimagine Reno, the latest master plan, the zoning, that large lot residential zoning was non-conforming even before that. So there's a host of allowable, compatible zoning with the current land use designation, which ranges from 8 units per acre to 14 units per acre.
Okay, so at the point at which an applicant comes forward and wants to build there, will that come back to the NAB, or does that go, what is the process by which that will be reviewed?
It depends on what's ultimately proposed. And depending on the unit count. So the MF14 designation allows, it allows for single family homes. It could be townhomes. It could be, a more intense attached product, but as John mentioned, it does have a 2-story cap and compatibility considerations. As far as entitlements go, depending on the product, if it was a townhomes, that would require a tentative map, which would go to the NAB and the Planning Commission. If they did a smaller scale project, it would still require public notice. The NAB would be aware of it. The least intense development potential would still require a site plan review.
Very much. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. I have a follow-up question to that, Nathan, if I may. I'm looking at the comparison between the Reno master plan and the current zoning as presented in the presentation. And I'm trying to determine what the Reno master plan designations are. There's a brown that is really taken over quite a lot of what is the current zoning, but I can't define, I'm not able to find exactly what that brown color is in the legend. I was trying to earlier and I just wasn't able to find it. So I'm hoping you can clarify for us.
Sure, let me just double check. Yeah, that brown is multifamily designation, and that is MF14, 14 units per acre, and up to 30 units per acre. So that's the predominant pattern, at least to the north, south, and west. And then it scales down. The subject site itself is that multifamily designation, mixed neighborhood designation, which allows for 8 to 14 units per acre.
Am I incorrect in seeing that the current zoning that is currently hotel commercial
No,
or
that's
hotel
not
casino?
correct. No.
That pink? Just wondering where that pink is coming from. So, okay, that helps me tremendously. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that pink is special, a special planning district. But that development is essentially a 30
Ah,
unit per acre or possibly more.
okay, so that's just not on the legend for the current
Yeah,
zoning.
that was a special designation, custom zoning
Gotcha.
designation.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification. All right, any other questions from the board?
I just wonder.
Okay.
Mac Rossi for the record. So your site is single family dwellings, is that correct, or multiple?
Large lot residential.
The existing site, one's vacant, one is a single family home, and it would be the proposed zoning would allow either detached single family, an attached, say, townhome product, or an apartment building. So that's what could be allowed.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions? Seeing none. Sorry, I'm just gonna be extra sure I don't see any hands. I will go ahead and move along. So this will be a project that we will all want to do the project review form for. And is it scheduled to go before the planning commission? I don't believe it goes to city council, or actually it probably does since it's a,
Yes.
yeah.
It does. The zone change will go to both planning commission and council.
Planning commission and council. And is there a tentative date for the planning commission meeting, just so that we can get our forms in time?
Nathan, do you have that?
I'm hoping John can answer that. All that I'm aware of is that there was a time waiver, so I'm not sure when it's scheduled for planning commission.
Probably not
I
until
have it
next
in an
month.
email. I think it's June 2nd.
Okay.
I can look it up and tell you guys.
Well, I guess just for the record, for anybody, everybody is encouraged to fill out the project review form if you have comments or concerns, good, bad, or indifferent, so that the planning commission and city council has that on file. And the sooner the better to get that in would be my suggestion.
And it looks like according to the planning tracking sheet I have, the anticipated date for this is June 2nd.
Okay, great.
Does that sound right, Nathan?
Yes, I see that now. So we would need your comments no later than May 16th.
16th.
May 16th. Thank you guys very much. Thank you
Okay,
for coming
thank you.
tonight.
Have a good evening.
Okay, moving on to item C, which is board, commission, committee member reports and announcements. This limited to items that do not appear elsewhere on the agenda. No action may be taken on the item, but is there any discussion, reports, announcements? Gary?
Gary Cecil for the record. If anybody's interested to follow the path of one of the things that comes to the NAB all the way through, in February, this NAB had a presentation about the Glow Plaza. And we go to the Planning Commission on March 16th, where it was voted the conditional use permit was granted. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. there is an appeal against that decision that will be heard by the City Council. So it's kind of coming full cycle from where it started here and on the Ward 1 now. So just wanted to inform you.
Great.
Thank you.
That's a good one. Grace, did you have anything? Okay, great. Seeing nobody else, I do have one small question. Amy, I think this would probably be directed to you. I don't know that you can answer it, but I'm hoping to just find out. I know we've got, I don't remember exactly how it came out, but I know with the redistricting and kind of the changes that occurred, that there might be some open seats on this NAB. I'm curious if that's the case.
Yes, there is. Actually, as of today, there are 2 open seats. There was a appointee on the board, Annika Khan, who has actually moved out of the state. So there's a second opening, and we have not yet or Vice Mayor Jordan has not yet brought appointments to a council meeting yet for those, but people are welcome to put applications in because it could be June potentially when we do appointments for the board.
Okay. I was just curious because I do get asked every so often if there are seats available. So I wanted to find that out. And I know, God bless George Foster. He used to be here every single meeting religiously, even before he was on the board. Then he got on the board and he hasn't been here since. So I just don't know if he's wanting to come back or if that's a seat that could be available to somebody that's very interested. And then additionally, I've been told that the applications have been submitted. So I guess my question would be, do they contact Neoma directly? Do they maybe go through you? Maybe shoot you an email with a copy of it?
They can contact me or her directly. She doesn't always, I mean, as I think most people who are recently appointed, she doesn't always necessarily interview people. She might look at applications and evaluate them through the application primarily. But yeah, people are encouraged to apply and definitely feel free to reach out and make your application known.
Great.
Yes.
I think my main importance there was, I think that a couple of us are expiring. So I just want to make sure that
When do you?
I don't know if I do this year or next year. I thought it was next year for me. Yeah, because I think you got reappointed in 2020. I didn't get reappointed until 2021. I think it's a 2-year term. Anyways, I don't want to get caught up on this. I apologize.
I don't have my access on this computer. I don't have access to it.
But it's under discussion item. And you could discuss your item.
I will check.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to make it aware of for all of us, you know, that when we expire and make sure that you guys are covered when we do. Okay, so moving along to item D, which is future agenda items, discussion of items for future agendas. No action may be taken, but it's for discussion.
Mac Rossi for the record. RTC has already approached and got surveys on what they call the McCarran Loop. I'd like to see if we can get some kind of report on that before it gets lost to the
Just a
to the
quick
side.
clarifying question. So there was the presentation a few months ago about the McCarran Loop. Are you wanting like a follow-up on that?
I want to follow up because they were just presenting it, just that it was going out for a survey. Now, what happened on the survey to find out what's going on?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. That's mine.
That's your only one?
What was the Ranchero Keystone?
I think it's the same.
Right, can you tell me exactly what it is so that I can make
It's
sure I know
part of
exactly
the
what it is?
McCarran Loop.
Part of,
Oh,
they're
it's
doing
part
the
of
whole
that. Oh, okay.
McCarran Loop. My part that I'm concerned with is over there on leadership and McCarran.
Okay, yeah.
But
All
the
right.
Rancho is part of that McCarran improvements and part of the survey, right?
Across the street, yeah.
Okay.
It's part of the whole project though.
Yeah, but the main concern was that there's 800 apartments that come down into McCarran and have to make a right-hand turn. They can't even turn left. And they've been talking about it for, I think 4 years ago, they were talking about, NDOT was going to go ahead and put a roundabout there. And I'd like to see what the results are because they kind of opened it up for the whole McCarran, and I'm kind of bringing it down to the area that I'm concerned with.
Gotcha.
They don't always turn right there.
Agreed. Agreed. The couple items that I wanted to just put on for, it doesn't have to be specific to next month, but certainly something I would like to keep sight of is the bird. Getting an update on how that's going. Just kind of mirroring on some of the comments from down below here. There are some safety concerns. I mean, I watched a mother with a baby strapped to her chest going probably 15 miles an hour down the street on one the other day. And it was like, rock on. I would not do that without a helmet. I wouldn't do it with a child. So it's kind of crazy to me, but if we could get an update. And then this group home thing, I think would be a really great thing to have on next month's agenda. I really kind of felt blindsided by that personally. And I know this has come up before in other items specific to auxiliary dwelling units and different things that are just not the zoning may not be appropriate. So I would really love to maybe have Neoma Jardin sit in on that and have some feedback for us on that. You mentioned that the Washoe County is coming next month for the,
I want to just bring that up. So what we had addressed it, or I addressed it, Mac Rossi for the record, addressed it that in a county meeting, we were in, both of us were in, they've come up with a new concept where besides coming to us or wherever they be, they have neighborhood for developments in the area. And everything has to be okay before it even goes ahead and comes to us or the planning commission. And I thought it was such a great idea that Amy was kind enough to check on it, and they're going to be here next meeting. And also I've asked Amy, and she's already contacted them. We want the city people here. Maybe they might get some ideas on what's going on, that to be a little more openly to the public, not just sliding by.
well, that is the problem. And that's what Washoe County was expressing, is that by the time a project was coming to the commission, they had, 100 people sitting in front of them stomping their feet and, very upset by a project when they hadn't heard anything about it. This is their first presentation. Have you even reached out to the public? So this was their fix on that, was you need to go to your neighbors, have a conversation, and then come to us. So,
And just to add on to that, what was happening with us here, if it did come to us, it isn't mandatory. If it does come to us, they make a nice presentation. And then 2 months later, they're at city council with a whole new project. It was supposed to be affordable housing, then it got to luxury townhouses. And then now we're down to one project I can add to, that was luxury homes. And we never hear a thing about it. And it just seems to slide through. I hate to use that expression, but it sure seems to be.
so very true. And then, not to take over the meeting here, but my last item was for Carol, the tenant advisory board. If we could get an update on where the status is on that, and maybe even get it revived, because that is something that's necessary, I think.
Role is on the ambassador program. Still waiting to see what's going on with that. Are you folks familiar with the ambassador program? It's these fellows downtown or employees downtown that wear the blue shirts that walk around, and they pay these people to kind of keep things under control. Wanted to see how things were going. So that isn't coming out of our tax dollars. It's coming out of the businesses in their jurisdiction that have to pay into it. So you'll see ambassadors on it. Some are on subways, stuff like that. So it's something of interest I think you might enjoy. Thank you.
They're a necessary service to downtown. They kind of keep things going in the right direction. Okay.
Just a point of correction there, Mac. Downtown residents also pay into that property tax, and some of them are at a higher rate than some of the casinos. Okay. Just also, Amy, of all the items that we had there were some wonderful ones. I'm very concerned about the group home one as well, and I think there's a sense of urgency to that. For me, the folks that came tonight need to hear more. So, appreciate that. Thank you.
Bryce Chisholm, I just wanted to say the same thing. I live off Las Brisas, and there is a group home by my house, but they don't require too much assistance. And from what some of the commenters were talking about, just seems a little far, and to put it at the top of Beaumont, completely at the top of the hill, doesn't make any sense. So I'd like to hear more about that.
Great. Okay. Public comment?
Did you want to do a discussion about the chair?
Yes, we do.
Oh, will that be after
Yep.
this?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, so if we could, you guys, I think the next person that would be in line is Gary Cecil. Would you like to chair next meeting?
Madam Chair, it's going to be very hard to follow you, but I'll give it a go.
Okay, great. I doubt that. He's going to be wonderful. He's got that accent. Okay, so Gary Cecil will be our chair for the June meeting. I don't have the date in front of me. I apologize. Okay. So moving then along to E.
Mac Rossi for the record.
Oh, thank
I
you.
make a motion, we adjourn.
No, wait. We still have public comment.
You got one more?
Just making, we still have some people, so just maybe check a public comment.
Yeah, we have item E, which is public comment. And this is time for either the public comment on any action item or for the general public comment, and is limited to no more than 3 minutes for each commenter. I don't see any hands from those online. Do we
I
have-
think that Lisa Hill might.
Yep, there's a hand. Okay.
Who do you want to recognize? Okay. All right, Lisa Hill for
She's-
public comment.
Thank you. One of my questions tonight was to get an update from RTC and NDOT on the North McCarran interface around Rancho Santa Fe safety issues. This was presented a number of months ago. And the representatives that were doing the North McCarran study, which has been studied multiple times in the last 20 years and has been an ongoing concern, agreed to look into interim safety enhancements in that area between about Kings Row and the university, which is very similar in nature to the presentation tonight along Mesa Drive, a 50-mile-an-hour roadway managed by NDOT. You've got pedestrians, a lot of traffic, bicycle, etc. And I'm having a hard time now after hearing that presentation, why we can't seem to get safety enhancements along that North McCarran interface. And so those representatives were actually quite responsive to the comments a few months ago. And so Carly, the agenda item is to bring RTC and NDOT back. They agreed to look into interim safety enhancements that can be done between now and the time they implement their full McCarran Loop study. And so that's what I'm looking for, is for the NAB to host representatives from NDOT and RTC to return to the meeting after their commitment to look at interim safety enhancements that can occur sooner, like within the next year, rather than later, like 5 years from now, after they complete their whole study.
Thank you very much, Lisa. So just to clarify, Amy, obviously we're asking them to come back and cover the McCarran Loop, but do we need to be specific then on the agenda item to maybe rehash some of the discussions that we had in that previous meeting? I don't think we have to be that specific with the item, but.
No, I think it could just be something that we indicate we want them to cover in their presentation.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Thank you. Yeah, emphasize on those two areas technically, right? Okay. Right, and then we have one more public comment? No? Okay.
Actually, do you mind coming to the podium?
Since we have it
yeah.
on Zoom, it helps
Yeah.
for everybody to be able to hear what's happening.
Yeah, it's for the microphone. This is Alexandra Bacon for the record.
Alexandra Bacon, and I'm not sure if this question should be directed towards you, only in that I submitted my comment online, and I'm wondering if that comment does get presented or passed on to the NAB board or anyone else, or does that just stay internal within whoever receives the comments?
I'll be sure to distribute it to the board I'll put together a final agenda packet with the public comments in it and distribute it to the board, and it will be posted online in the final agenda packet.
Okay, thank you. And just to let the board here know, I did put some additional information with respect to the parcel number. I think you had asked about that, Mr. Rossi, and you might have looked it up on the phone just to put into context the location that we're speaking of. Thank you.
Again, I'm sorry for my clarifications tonight, but since this doesn't go to planning commission or council and it's already been decided upon and blah, 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 there's no agenda packet. So I'm hoping that we can get reference to that comment that she submitted.
The agenda packet for this meeting.
Okay.
Not
So with the
an agenda
minutes?
item.
Are you referring like with the minutes that you submit?
No, so I'll email it out. I always upload a final agenda packet after each meeting for the public
Okay.
record.
Okay.
And it will be included in that, and I'll be sure to email it out to the board.
And that's accessed on our website, correct?
Yes.
Under the Ward 5 now, Ward 5. Okay.
Under the meeting portal,
Right.
which is linked on the Word 5 NAB page.
Okay. That's the only way I've ever done it. Okay. Okay. So I think we don't have, oh, we do. Lisa, is your hand still up or did you have another question?
Oh, I think that's from before.
I think so too. Okay, great. I don't see any more hands. I don't see any more comments. Everybody good? Then we can,
Make a motion to adjourn.
yes.
Bryce Chisholm, second.
All
Thank
those
you.
in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're out of here. Thank you guys for attending.